is witnessing one of the worst ethnic clashes in decades. But what is worrisome is the fact that the world over the debate has been done on the religious line, tool to interfere in India's internal affairs. But I would say that's yesterday's matter. That has been answered. But how do people in Manipur are living their lives? What are they doing in Manipur? For how long do they get electricity? How much water is available to them? Markets, are they open through the day? Can they access things which they used to 60 days ago? You see, meeting between Biren Singh and other people can happen. The nominalness of destruction of bunkers can happen. Army can patrol. But what is the real picture? Are students going to school in full capacity? Is ghettoization coming to an end? Are Meiteis and Cookies started to have to work in same offices? What is this new sense of normalcy which we are talking about? There's also a rumor-free number which they have provided, 9233522822, Central Control Room. Things have happened in Chura Chandpur. I really today don't want to get into all this. Today my guests include Brijesh Pandey, Mr. Kipgan from Imphal, Professor Prasanjit Biswas, who would help us put what sense of normalcy means in a civil society. Why is it important? But first I'll go to Mr. Kipgan. Mr. Kipgan he's joining us from Imphal. I really want to know, what is your day like in Imphal? What do you do? Do you get to go to the market? Are vegetables available? Is meat available? Is milk available? Can you take a lonely walk? Can you go for an evening walk? Have you gone for a morning walk? Mr. Kipgan?
No, brother. I am not from exactly Imphal. I am at Kankopi.
Kankopi.
Yeah, Kankopi district. I am not in Imphal.
Okay, Kankopi. So, do you get to go for a walk? Do you go outside?
Yes, in Kankopi we used to go. We used to go to outside since there is no Meitei communities in this Kankopi area.
So, what is the life like in Kankopi? Can you just take us through?
The life in Kankopi this day, we have many displaced persons right now at Kankopi, which is a safer zone for Cookies peoples. And most of the Assam Rifle displaced person has been brought by the Assam Rifle from Imphal to Kankopi. And we have relief camp here. And at this juncture, we try our best so that our students can go to the school, but somehow we could not manage still in the border areas. In Kankopi town too, of course, we can have some normal, but all the marketplaces are not fully function, but half is functioning. And we can get some materials, vegetables and everything from Naga Brothers from Chanapati, which is close to Kankopi district. And right now the problem that we have is in Kankopi area is medical problem. Before the violence was started, Kankopi people we usually go to medical treatment at Imphal. Right now we have one civil hospital, government civil hospital. After the violence, in Kankopi civil hospital, many Meitei doctors is also there. After the violence started, there is no Meitei doctors is available in Kankopi. We have some shortage of doctors, and some minor case we can be treated in this Kankopi hospital. Some major problems, some major cases, we used to go to Kohima, which is very far from Kankopi. from Kampopi to Imphal is around 45 kilometers. It is not much difficult to go to Imphal for the treatment, but now, because of this violence, in major case, we used to go to Kohima or Dimapur for medical treatment. That is the most problem that we have faced in Kampopi district.
So, is transport available? Is transport available,
For
interstate transport available from Kankopi?
Kampopi to Nagaland,
Yes, Nagaland or other parts outside?
yeah, transportation is available at Kampopi. Since it is a national highway, SN highway, we can go from Kampopi to Dimapur and any other cities in mainland.
Mr. Kipgen, people would also like to know, a lot of property has been destroyed. Have the original inhabitants come there? The people who were living there?
You know, Imphal is a capital for Manipur. Some of the government officers from Kampopi, they used to live, most of them are living in Imphal's areas. Some IPS officers, IAS officers, and many government officers who are from Kampopi district, they used to live in Imphal. They have their own plot at Imphal. After all their houses are burning, they have left Kampopi. And some of them do not have their residential at Kampopi district, though they are from Kampopi district. They have already settled in Imphal. Those people, they don't have any more residence at Kampopi district.
So they cannot come. And what about children? Are schools open in and around? Are there online classes? How are people dealing without internet? You see, a lot of stories can be told about Manipur. Today, my whole job as an anchor sitting here is to get the story about Manipur. Not about money from outside, but from Manipur. How do you organize your life without proper, full broadband spectrum? Because I've been told that internet is not available throughout the area.
Yeah, internet is not available, but in emergency case, government office like DC office, they have internet for government official work. When it is necessary in Kampopi towns for the student, we try to connect with the internet at Kampopi DC office or any somewhere else.
I'm also joined by our input editor Brijesh. Brijesh, today the whole idea was to have a conversation on what is happening in Imphal. Biren Singh has held a meeting today. There have been instances of violence here and there. We've been holding debates in context of bunkers, military, EU, other things. But the life stories are more important, because sometimes the new normal is not the old normal. So there is a new normal there. There is no violence there, but the ghettoization is complete. Violence is sporadic, but arms have not come back. MLAs have stopped speaking, but it doesn't mean that they are interdining and talking to each other. So your opinion, opening thoughts on the new normal in Manipur.
Well, Karthikeya, the new normal is a forced normal. It's like if I may draw a parallel to Mumbai, where one suffers or undergoes a lot of suffering. The transport is broke, various things are broke, situation is not that normal, and then people start legitimizing the new normal by talking about how resilient the people is. This is just a facade of how you try to justify the new normal. The unfortunate aspect of the new normal is that the old normal is pinching to your eyes. The old normal is not going to come back very soon. You are aware of it. That is how you try to mask over it by presenting the new normal as the new in thing. The fact is that nobody is going to return those kids. Their 3 months of missed education, their normal livelihood, and the kind of poison which is going on vis-a-vis the kind of conversation, the kind of narratives that is being built around their ears and around their comprehension about how one ethnicity is after another ethnicity, how the government is either for them or against them, how this particular force is biased and how that force is not biased. it's not a normal upbringing, Karthik. It's not a normal situation where you and I would like to, feel normal about it. Unfortunate aspect is that yes, certain segments have started showing a degree of normalcy, like kids have started coming in. But once you start digging deeper, the reality comes in that that the kids are also segregated. The Meiteis kids are sitting with Meitei kids, the Kuki kids are sitting with Kuki kids, schools in the valleys are not open, and then the various other things. The attendance is abysmally low. Yeah, the good thing is that the violence is not happening on a daily basis, but the distrust and the deep divide is so big, so huge, Kartike, that it would require a Herculean effort on the part of the state government and also the central government to start to initiate a political process in which both sides would feel comfortable to sit across the table. And that is, I think, going to be the biggest task, the biggest challenge before the central government, before the state government, and also before the leaders of various communities, the stakeholder groups, and all, as to how to initiate that process. Otherwise, this forced new normalcy is not going to take the state anywhere, Karthikeyan.
Mr. Kipgen, am I audible to you now? Mr. Kipgen, a lot of people would also like to know, now the people, they are in the different camps. Do you think that there is a chance that they can be easily relocated in next 2 or 3 months? Or is just a fantasy question from someone like me sitting in Delhi?
I don't think, because when the firing started, it destroyed everything. Now, though the firing has been off, it doesn't mean that it has become normalcy, because we cannot go to Imphal. Imphal people could not come to the hills.
But then what is the core demand of the tribal community? See, ultimately, people, Mr. Kipgen, people will need to live together. It can't be, we can't stay with the Meiteis. No one is going anywhere.
Yeah, that is the problem. Since emotional, everything, we are separated with the Meitei. We cannot be living together anymore. It may take 10, 20 years. I can't say, I could not predict that, but it will take long time. It may take almost 10 to 20 years. So, to solve the problems, since the tribals and the Kuki-Jo people, since we cannot live with the Meitei anymore, that is the main reason why we are demanding, we want to be, since we are already separated from the Meiteis physically, we need administration to be separated from the Manipur government. Since our government employee could not go to Imphal, and regarding the school in the hills areas, there are more Meitei teachers are posted in hills areas government school. Since they could not come, how can we take the class? How can we run the school? Since there is no teacher, and most of the Kuki-Jo people who are displaced from Imphal, most of them are government job. How can they go to Imphal? They can't go.
But there has to be a solution, there has to be a solution. The reason why today I've called you in my program is not to create a blame game. I really want to ask you, as a citizen, how do you think that people can come together? You can't fall short of words. People don't fall short of words when they have to blame other. I'm asking for a constructive answer from you.
Yeah. Thank you for the good questions. The problems, we are divided after killing. I think it will take time to live together again. I can't predict that.
Why? Why can't people live together? Why can't Meiteis and Kukis live together, Mr. Kipgen? You have been on my show for more than 50 times, I think. Why can't?
What I mean is that, we are killing each other. Instead of the politicians, the youngsters are admiring something like football player, a good singer, or film star. In the last couple of days, one of the Meitei singers have composed one popular song. If a peace return in Manipur, we could not stop the words. Before we kill all the cookies in Manipur, we wouldn't get peace in Manipur. That song was composed by the Meitei singer, which is popular in Manipur. You know, instead of a good politician, a younger generation follow a good football player, a film star, or a good singer. You know, even the children, small kids in the Manipur, they want to hold arms, whether the Meitei or the cookies. So it will take time, not at least 10 to 20 years.
You know, I'm
I don't know any way to live together right now.
I'm also joined by Hasina Kharbi. Hasina, are you getting my voice?
Yes, I'm getting yes.
Hasina, tell me what is the life like in Manipur? What is the feedback you are getting? Are people able to? What is this new normalcy? Let me ask you, because I really don't want to get into this Methi cookie thing anymore. Naga, I just want to understand what is the new normalcy like in Manipur.
The new normalcy at the moment, the struggle of the people who have lost their homes, who are still in the various camps, the need needs to be fulfilled at this moment because there are shortage of food, shortage of relief material, the requirement. So these are things which are still the very much needed to be met in the course of all the biggest debate. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand that more and more people are being pushed in the various camps. And as human being, there is certain needs that needs to be provided. And that has not been met to the fullest. That's one reality. Second reality that is very much needed at the moment is, I think our previous panelist has mentioned that the voice of the youth. Very much I know the challenge of the internet and all of that is something that people have not been able to raise. But I also understand that the young people who are being the people who have taken Manipur to the next level of economic upliftment before the entire conflict that had re-arise are people who really want this to be stopped. So I also look at one aspect that these voices needs to be heard in the main television channel. The voices needs to be recorded, appeal needs to be recorded, because at the end of the day, they are the future for tomorrow. And they're not somebody who is retaliating against tribe, but they are wanting peace because many of them has come back to the region to fulfill a lot of, aspiration in creating a new Manipur. We cannot forget that just because of the 2 months of situation, we cannot forget the development that has come along, the development of young voices, the development of many aspirant from whether football players. We talk about Renedy Singh, who has come back to do a lot of football for a lot of youth, for the rural people. We talk of the various entrepreneurs. We talk at many civil society organizations, just like our partner, New Life Foundation, constantly is reaching out to us. These are the needs we need to fulfill. We need to bring forward. So I think that is one reality we cannot forget, beside giving cross opinions about, the situation.
When we talk about new realities, the basic reality remains the same, which is water, electricity, food, road access, medicine, availability of teachers, Hasina, right to internet, right to food. Basic things are there. All those basic things are disrupted. Don't you think that is where the focus should be? Because these are the rights given by the governments.
Yes, totally. I mean, like for somebody who's been in the development sector, if the basic rights are not being met, you create more agitations, you create more conflicts, you create more disparities. Because at the end of the day, if one community is getting food, the other is not getting the food, there's always this hostility. You become very hostile to the situation, what's happening, why is it they getting and not getting from this other side? So accessibility to this food. It's not possible just for civil society organization like us to be able to meet the larger need, because we have to go into a campaign. Totally, I would say I've been in this show for so long. Why don't we start a campaign that actually allows people to contribute relief for Manipur at this moment? That is the need. Why don't we just allow people to go through the channel from all over, from wherever they are, from every states and the states in India, overseas, to actually channel support that is needed, that is not being able to be met, so that we reduce this kind of people, isolating themselves, getting hostile, getting more into a conflict mode because they are unable to get the basic rights or get the government to work with civil society who can access the community at large.
Before I go back to Mr. Kipgen and Hasina, I'll come to you. There's a political question I would like Brijesh to come in. I'm very intrigued by this, and I'm telling you that more than the community issue, I will talk about the larger civic and political issues. BJP leaders in adjoining states are facing the heat. BJP senior leader has quit its party in Mizoram. Do you think that Mizoram is having an impact on BJP's politics in Northeast?
Why only limited to Mizoram, Karthike? The BJP is facing heat of what is happening in Manipur and Kerala as well. The whole Christian community outreach which the BJP has very carefully planned and had actually started making overtures, given the fact that that Home Minister Amit Shah has met a lot of the political parties work on the narrative. And the fact is that that once this kind of narrative which was built, that the party is making a reach out to Pasmanda Muslims, the party is making a serious outreach to the Christian community, in the states which are Christian dominated. I think what Manipur has done is that it has put paid to all the efforts which have been put forward by the BJP as far as the Christian outreach is concerned. Now they have to work doubly hard to send a positive message, because the states which are Christian dominated now they are on the back foot. The leaders who are having a dalliance with the BJP leadership are on the back foot because of what is happening in the state of Manipur.
Is there a chance that Biren Singh can be replaced in future? Because BJP has been able to take the fire and in a sustained way, defend Biren Singh. Do you think in future, there might be a press release, which is the BJP way, there's a press release in my hand and I said, oh, a news has come, there's a new chief minister in Manipur. Is it possible?
Well, Karthike, there have been several times, reports have come that, BJP, Biren Singh is almost on the firing line, Biren Singh is about to go. I have always maintained on your show, Karthike, that Biren Singh is not going anywhere, not even once, because I have been following this party for a very long time, and especially after 2013 onwards, when what you're witnessing as BJP 2.0 under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. One thing is very clear, that they do not give in to the popular demand, or they do not act under pressure. And removal of Biren Singh would have sent a clear message that the BJP is facing the heat. The BJP's strategy has failed. That will be acknowledging that, and then the BJP has acted under the duress. I agree with you that that 2 months down the line, you may all of a sudden get to know that chief minister has been changed, or powers curtailed and some new power center has emerged. But as of now, nothing of that sort is happening, because the BJP is also wary of the fact that that if they remove Chief Biren Singh, they are also likely to incur the wrath of the majority Maiti community, and this is also what is keeping their options very, very limited as far as Manipur is concerned. So I don't see Biren Singh going anywhere soon. Yeah, the situation may normalize. Once the situation normalizes, anything can happen, but not as we speak.
Okay, let me ask a question to Mr. Kipgen. Mr. Kipgen, is local police force visible there? You are in Manipur. Do you see that local police is a stabilizing factor now, or have they melted away? It's the army which is now stabilizing. Can you just take us to the ground situation?
Since I have been at Kampopi district, I could not observe Imphal.
It's okay.
I could not observe Imphal city.
You don't have to observe Imphal. You can talk about your surrounding.
Surrounding in Kampopi district, we have Kampopi district police. But before the violence started, there are a lot of Manipur police in Kampopi district. After the violence, only the Kuki Manipur police are there, and all the Meitei police has been gone out from the Kampopi.
I think that's a very sad thing to say, Mr. Kipgen. that
Yeah.
even police has become divided on ethnic lines. You are basically it is like saying that, you know, in this village you have only policemen from one caste and the rest of the caste have gone away.
Yeah, yeah. All the police posted in Imphal also come up. There is no more cookie police person in Imphal. They have already come up to the hills. No one cookie police officer as well as cookie police are no more in Imphal area.
Hasina, is this true? I'm not. Is this true that this complete movement of population has taken place?
From the ground reality, those who have family in the hills, definitely they have moved for safety reason and for support. Like I just said, that in the various camps, the unavailability of, you know, relief, there's always a human angle to every process of, you know, when there is no support system coming in. No doubt about it. But there are also in different camps that you have both the communities together that are still there. I mean, that's another reality of it, you know. So there are reality of both sides, not that the whole communities have moved out of the valleys or the whole communities have moved out of, you know, from the hills to the valley. So this aspect is people, those who still have houses, no doubt, are still, you know, out there. Those who don't have any more houses, because the maximum of those houses that has burned out are always seeking refuge to get from family members, relatives, far-end relatives, people that they know. This is a very natural process in any conflict situation. Unless reconciliation is being provided where communities are able to talk to each other. But there are also the other reality of it from the ground that there are communities like, for example, the communities who are doing food plantation, they're both communities, they're helping each other, you know. So these are also angles which are not reported. They're ground reality of the real situation of Manipur at this moment.
But then what about the agriculture? Has that suffered very badly?
At least we have been working in the agroforestry and agriculture. At least the lands that we are, you know, providing support to the host community and the displaced people, that has been going on for 1.5 years. That is going on. In fact, it's a very, you know, I mean, like, welcoming to see that these communities, they belong to different tribes, but they are sharing those foods, you know, those agriculture produce to communities who are not having any kind of food products. So that's another reality, that at the end of the day, when human beings are in totality not receiving any kind of relief, it's no longer about which ethnicity you belong. It's about women and children of both communities are suffering, and the sharing of available food is also taking place.
You know, when we talk about sharing of food, when we talk about relief camps cannot be the permanent measure. You know, relief camps, Hasina, cannot turn into a ghetto.
No, of course, definitely. We will not be supporting ghettos to take place, or ghettos to be the permanent, you know, support system. That's the reason that I'm saying that if the state government has failed to actually address all the houses that has actually been burned, what is the next step for that? Will they be able to come back? That's one big question we need to really look at it. I mean, till how long will they have to be in these relief camps? That's another bit. How will you get them? Because at the end of the day, any human being, if they've lost everything, they'll go and look for all the things that they have lost because of the situation. So I think this is something that the government needs to put their heads together. You know, the totality, the central government will have to look at how the reformation will have to go ahead. What I'm talking about relief camp at this moment is about the most emergency needs at the end of the day. It is not about how many political parties are actually debating about which community is in which relief camp. But I think as the Constitution of India, all the political parties will need to look at human being from the lens of humanitarian need. It is not about the divide out here. So I think that is failing Manipur at this moment. Political leaders are coming out there, but they are not coming together to have these, I would say, consultative meetings of all the parties of how do we restore the peace in Manipur will have to be a joint effort. because that joint effort is going to take a very powerful message.
That's a very beautiful thing you have said, Hasina. I really want Mr. Kipgen to come, answer. Mr. Kipgen, why can't leaders from all three communities work together? It's like moral atonement. Sin has been committed from all the sides. People have been killed from all the sides. When Mahatma Gandhi visited camp, he went, when India gained its freedom, Mahatma Gandhi was where? He was in Bengal. He was campaigning there in during Noakhali riots. And he had the moral courage to say that no more violence over a dead body. I'm not saying where is Mahatma Gandhi in Manipur, but I'm saying that where are these lawmakers?
Yeah.
Who can transcend communities?
What I'm going to say is not a blame game, but it is relatives. Though there is a problem, though there is fighting each other, the leaders from the both communities of the leaders to take initiative part for the peace process. But in this time, I'm not saying regarding game blame, but civil society from Imphal Valley, which we call it Korkomi, they have declared war against the Kukijo communities. The civil society are the civil society leaders who are going to make peace. They have declared war. So who is to, now there is no one among the leaders. There is no one to say about peace right now in this Manipur situation. I don't find any leaders.
There has to be a leader. Mr. Kipgen, you can't say that there is no leader. There has to be a leader. Someone needs to come out. You are saying that you have problem with Biren Singh, but there will be someone apart from Biren Singh who can lead.
We don't have a particular personal problem with anyone. But now the problem is that in Manipur context, in the Kuki communities, we have many civil organizations, Kuki NP, Kuki student organizations. Likewise, in the Medik community, they have Kokomi, they have other organizations, they have in the student level also, they have All Manipur Student Union, Manipur AMSU, MSF, they have many civil organizations from the student level side or from the every angle. We have in the Manipur context, we have in the Kuki side also, we have student level leaders. At the same time, those leaders are who are the person who is going to speak about peace in Manipur. If the state government can't act, they are the person to act for the peace. But they are the leader of the war, so there is no one to speak peace right now at this junction, at this situation. If the leader are the leader of the war maker, who is going to talk about peace in Manipur right now?
Brijesh, what has happened to the peace committee? Let me ask this question.
Well, Kartikeya, I think, there's one angle also which not many people are talking about openly. I think, peace committee's idea bombed very badly because, once it was announced, many thought that, that there were, prominent people from both communities, professors, intellectuals, who would make an outreach. But it came a cropper because, 90% of them started by saying that their name was put there without consulting them, thereby depriving the announced committee its due legitimacy. I think there's also a simmering, and I'm basing this entirely on the kind of conversations we have been having for more than 2 months now. There is also an undercurrent within both communities, both ethnicities, that that this is the right time for them to get what they want. That that we should have a separate state or completely separate administrations, and there's also a thought process in the other side that that we have suffered them enough. Let's go for the final kill, and this is the reason why I think this underlaying this dormant yet dominant feeling on both sides is what is also acting as a major hindrance as far as any kind of peace process be initiated. Kartikeya, you and I may lament about how normalcy is not returning, kids are not going to school and all. But the reality is, as they say, your facts are stranger than fiction. I think the reality is more horrifying than for the communities or ethnicities to bother about those niceties in life that that children can go to school. I can have an evening stroll. We have food on the table. I think the situation is a bit beyond that, and both sides are also trying to use this situation. What is happening on the ground, and given the kind of massive distrust which is there, as a leverage point to ensure that they get what they want, so that they don't have to face this situation anytime near soon in the future. And that is the reason why there's a big hardening of position from both Kuki side as well as Maiti side. Kartikeya?
Okay. Is this the reason, Hasina, what Brijesh has been saying, the hardening of the position?
I think the hardening of the position, of course, I agree to that, but there's also the other side of it, that if the state government or the present chief minister has failed to bring all parties for a reconciliation talk in order to look at the most immediate need, which is the support to all the people who are affected, internally displaced, then it's time for the central government, our prime minister, in the country can take the lead by bringing all political parties in Manipur as a directive of sitting together and looking at both sides of affected people in the ground. That is possible. It's not that it's impossible. And that's why we elect our leaders, right? Why the community elect their leaders, whatever party it is so that they take stand or they take action in situation that is most needed. So that is something that I would say it's very important, which nobody is making that move. Rather, every visit has been, focus on which political party has visited, what have they found, what has been taken care and what is going to be taken care, rather than calling upon a state level meeting, which is mostly all political parties, all elected members, to see and comprehend that at the most immediate need is what does the need of the hour should be, so that process support all of that is being met as the first step towards any kind of peace reconciliation. No peace reconciliation can happen if we still have opinions.
Okay, so no peace reconciliation can happen like that. But Mr. Kipgen, peace reconciliation require people to come together. At least peace and reconciliation can require civil society members to come together. But there is no movement of civil society also.
Yes. Not only civil society, at this juncture, from the Kuki-Jo community side, we have 10 MLS in Manipur Legislative Assembly.
Correct.
And even all the MLS from Kuki-Jo community side, they could not go to Imphal. They can't go to Imphal. Even the Meitei MLS could not come to Kampo Pure Chursanpur. When the things is too much worse than anything else, the problem, at this situation, it is too much. If the MLS, if our representative would not meet each other, what will be the result? Not only civil society, even our elected representative of different community could not meet, could not go each other. We have reached up to that problem.
But Kipgen, it needs to be taken care of. It needs to be, someone needs to seed the ground. Hasina, I was asking that civil society organization need to come if politicians are not coming.
As a civil society organization are completely focusing on the immediate need, right? When the immediate need is something that is not being met, we are focusing more so that we don't have any kind of hunger situation taking place or any kind of health situation that is going to come forward, with the rains at this moment that is also affecting many area in terms of the distribution. At the same time, the defeat that reaching out those destinations requires support system from the state, requires, uniformed personnel to come on board. That's what civil society has come together to really look at how we can be able to provide. We are getting reach from the cookies, from the Métis, all the civil society that we have been working. The same need is being arise that it's not enough. So where do we go? How do we distribute this support system? But at the same time, when we come at elected leadership, I think elected leadership is the voice of the state that will bring civil society together. But if elected members, whether it's the cookies, whether it's the Métis, whether it's the present ruling government, ruling parties, all of it, somebody has to bring them together. That, by constitutional right, it is the government of India that will have to take a stand to bring all the elected members, ensuring that there will be no further conflict. Safety, of course, there's a must to have safety when you bring people at one place. That safety will need to be ensured by whether we have the Assam Rifles out there, the army out there who is governing the situation day and out. That needs to be brought together where they can speak. If they are not being able to come to a round table to speak, if there's no lead being taken place, this situation will always have two sides. And that two side will continue to bring friction. They'll continue to bring further conflict, further deaths, I would say, more damages to the communities. There will be definitely the economic issue, definitely theft and others will happen, because when people are losing out from a day-to-day earning, definitely there will be people who will go out there to secure that support. It's a natural human instinct. So I think that is the need. I think why don't the central government call upon Mr. Biren Singh and call upon all the elected members, from the ruling and opposition party to really come for a round table. Somebody has to take the lead. And I think the ruling government of our country should do that. Their visit to the state will not be complete if they are not able to actually bring them to talk and look at the needs. All
Absolutely.
the information from the ground
Absolutely.
will have to be spoken. I mean, you can't say that, they couldn't come because there's no safety. Safety has to be organized. If you have the uniformed personnel who are governing the safety at this moment, who are taking the law and order, to control that, then they can, take their directions by the government to bring them to whether to Imphal or to Delhi, wherever it's the most suitable, so that lead to the next level can take place.
Let me go across to Professor Prasanjit. Professor Prasanjit, you said something here. Yesterday it stayed in my mind. Moral atonement.
Yes.
Just stayed in my mind. I when I went back home, it stayed in my mind, and I thought of the books I read of Gandhi in Noakhali.
Yes, surely. I mean, it requires a lot of effort to really bring people who have been torn apart by such gory acts of violence. So one has to really establish the role of an exemplar of peace, fraternity, love, and brotherhood has to be brought into the frame. What we are talking at cross purposes most of the times, and we are getting polarized. In a difficult situation like Manipur, we need a peacemaker and not just a peace broker. And this is something absolutely necessary to reconcile. To reconcile between the communities, both the communities have to recognize each other's inner humanity. In order to do so, they have to see their own sins, and not just the sins of others. They have to deeply empathize with the other's suffering that has happened in their hands. So if everyone realizes this, everyone looks back at themselves and tries and see what they are doing, or there is someone who can actually inculcate that feeling of self-reflexivity, that feeling of self-examination, and critical understanding of the situation mixed with self-examination. That will be something like an atonement, and that getting involved in this side or that side, in this narrative or that narrative. Now, narratives are not going to help. What is going to help us is this concrete ground level peace work that has to be carried out by sensible individuals, by civil society, by victims, even by the perceived aggressors. We have to really bring in a change of heart in the situation, and that is the most difficult thing that needs to be accomplished at this crisis hour.
Absolutely bang on, some sort of a concrete piecework. But how do you, Professor, deal with the ghettoization which has happened? Because if you look at the ground reports, it's like oral histories. Ultimately, what is Mr. Kipgen giving me? It's an oral history. What has Hasina just recorded in this TV? Oral history or oral histories. And what do I get from these oral histories is that administration, intelligentsia, civil society, politicians, they have melted away into ethnic identity. Manipuri identity is melted into the ethnic identity. This is something which I can say is like the balkanization of Manipur that has happened.
And a kind of, asking for autonomy on the basis of their cultural rights, on the basis of their status as a minority. Everywhere in the world, minorities enjoy certain special rights, and Constitution of India allows for those special rights. Now we have to seriously examine why special rights for minorities, tribes, and other smaller ethnic groups probably didn't work in the case of Manipur, resulting into a kind of territorial ghettoization. That is an outcome of a long-drawn colonial process of separating people from each other by building up artificial boundaries between them and by rigidification of social and cultural boundaries. Now, normatively speaking, legally speaking, much of these boundaries do not have any ethical or legal basis. So we have to bring into picture a discussion on how these boundaries are drawn, to what extent these boundaries are legitimate.
Professor, I think you have really touched, you have really hit the raw nerve of the conversation. No ethical and legal basis of drawing these boundaries. Let's listen to a bite that has come from Manipur, and then I'm going to ask you this question. You explain when you say there is no ethical and legal basis of separating people, which the colonizers did.
In the midst of the prevailing communal situation in Manipur, which has been going on for 70 days now, we have witnessed compartmentalization of Imphal city and the Imphal valley by state-sponsored machineries, wherein Kuki settlements, their houses, the colonies, the churches have all been burnt down. The abrupt abrogation of age-old treaties like those of the Moiran Treaty and the Sanjentong Treaty, and the subsequent declaration of war upon the Kuki community by the Métis, have paved the way for a total separation of these two communities, the Kukis and the Métis, ad infinitum. Taking this into consideration, the Kuki in Manipur, in its meeting held yesterday at Lamka, has decided to spell out its demand for a separate administration, wherein the cabinet decided explicitly that the separate administration will be in the form of a separate state under Article 3 of the Indian Constitution. This being said, it is being made known to all that the Kukis shall continue to strive with sweat and blood and continue to toil till the central government listens to our demands and grant us a separate state for our self-administration.
when you say no ethical and legal basis, can you just take us through why did you say that? And how did colonizers achieve that?
Actually, colonizers wanted to mobilize the primordial identities. That is part of their colonial knowledge system. Colonial administration was based on primordial mobilization of identities. All kinds of primordial mobilizations have happened. Now, in the case of Northeast, ethnic identities have a certain kind of authenticity. Kuki-Jo community has a large history. Much of this history is not known to the mainstream. And they are legitimate aborigines of the larger terrain of India's Northeast. Like we have almost 222 tribes or languages, tribal languages. Each of these tribes have their own history, legitimacy, their moral authority, their system of administration. Now, what colonizers did, they did some manipulation. They mixed up, they created quarrel between one territory and the other territory. When the post-colonial Indian state came, it was expected that it will be able to maintain administrative boundaries in ethical, legal, political terms. Now, those terms were never settled by way of a dialogue, by way of mutual understanding, and by way of activating a kind of permanent peace process and reconciliation between people who differ with each other. Now, this context remained in the present situation of Manipur, where you know how it started. I don't want to get back to narrative. I want to go forward. And from now on, what needs to be seen, as I was yesterday emphasizing, I've also heard other panelists saying that the safety of the internally displaced people have to be ensured. It is to be ensured that no more violence happens. How people can be refrained from violence. Can there be a buffer zone where people are separated for a while till they are on the table and they have settled for a peace deal? And that peace deal should take into account future possibilities of a sustainable peace with justice. The present kind of structural injustice, you know, the division between the hill and the plains of Manipur, the kind of discriminatory funding pattern, the kind of the claims
Professor,
of,
one thing I would like to know: who decides who is an original inhabitant? Assam was purchased from Burma. Tripura's dynasty came from Myanmar. Who decides who is an outsider and who decides who is an insider?
That is a different question. But as far as the tribal history of the Northeast is concerned, each of the tribe, through their oral history, through their long tradition, had already established their own authenticity. They have myths and stories about how they have originated, the land to which they belong to, and they have created a sense of community. And that sense of community is not in just exclusivist terms. It is in terms of inter-ethnic relationship. It is in terms of mutual self-respect and understanding. So therefore, these finer cultural aspects and historical aspects of the tribes of Manipur is before us. And this really helps us in settling the present conflict situation. But government is not looking at all that. People who make tall claims, they don't look at that history. They are trying to polarize and probably politicize. And it is at this point we really need to generate inner humanity of each other so that conflicts do not perpetuate anymore. We are tired of this bloodshed. The entire Northeast is watching. Now, if this keeps on happening, our entire internal security will be disturbed. The economic development is already taken a backseat. People, those who are in job, they are not able to get back to their job. What will happen to their salary? People who are homeless, they are loitering here and there. They are not given any package, any shelter. So their rehabilitation, relief, their reparation, bringing them back with safety and security in their due places is the prime urgent task at this moment. And these tasks are to be accomplished. It's easier said than done, I know, but we have to outline these pending tasks and we have to take them into task one by one and organize it in a systematic manner so that there is no heart burning, there is no anxiety, there is no sense of disgust, no sense of discrimination, rather a sense of confidence and moral understanding is instilled by way of our peace work. This is what I mean by peace work, and that has to be carried out like Jayaprakash Narayan did in 70s, like Mahatma Gandhi did in Noakhali, There are these kind of moral leadership that always arose in India. India being a land of great moralists and great religious, spiritual thinkers. We have no dearth of such people. They have to be brought into bringing peace in Manipur at this point of time.
I think, when you say that a moral politics, a new sort of moral politics is required to bring down the heat. And in Northeast, if you look at the pictures, if you look at what has violence done, it will tell you that it has divided the society deeply. This sort of a violence was witnessed in the Indian subcontinent after independence. And this violence divided communities. If you look at the pictures which we are playing from Manipur, it shows you what the violence has done. It has deeply divided the community. And that is why it is the effort of the News9 not only to ask questions that can bring answers which are useful in bringing people together, but also creating a conversation around how to rebuild the community and also get you stories from Manipur, by the people of Manipur, from Manipur, and not a perspective and gaze from Delhi. That's what we are trying to do. We are trying to avoid Delhi's gaze. We are trying to create a conversation of Manipur, from Manipur, and about Manipur.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं.
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
कोटा जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में.
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है.
This rat race is for rats, not for humans. So why should we even be a part of it?
The Rat Race. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now. BrahMos. Stealthy, lethal, precise. It flies at 3 times the speed of sound and cuts through a warship like a hot knife through butter. China's navy has threatened its neighbors, and they are turning to the BrahMos for protection. The warship killer. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Pakistan is actually genociding Baloch people. So being Baloch is a crime. If you are a Baloch, it means in the eyes of Pakistan, you don't have any right to live.
The Chinese and Pakistanis are colonizing the Baloch and exploiting their resources.
The Baloch armed struggle will continue unless China withdraws, Pakistan military withdraws from Balochistan, and give Baloch complete authority to decide for themselves.
The Baloch feel that if they don't act now, they will become marginalized.
What lies ahead for Balochistan?
Balochistan, Bangladesh 2.0, streaming now.
Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in the world, or a business honcho, accused of manipulating the market.
अदानी जी 609 नंबर से दूसरे नंबर तक